jump on to page 55, Paul. It's going to be the second paragraph on page 55. Let me know when you got it. There's some more people in here. Okay, you're muted too, Paul. You want to unmute yourself there, buddy? Thank you. All right, page 55, second paragraph. Actually, we were fooling ourselves, for deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. It may be obscured by calamity, by pomp, by worship of other things, but in some form or other, it is there. For faith in a power greater than ourselves and miraculous demonstrations of that power in human lives are facts as old as man himself. We finally saw that faith in some kind of God was a part of our makeup, just as much as the feeling we have for a friend. Sometimes we had to search fearlessly, but he was there. He was as much fact as we were. We found the great reality deep down within us. In the last analysis, it is only there that he may be found. It was so with us. We can only clear the ground a bit. If our testimony helps sweep away prejudice, enables you to think honestly, encourages you to search diligently within yourself, then, if you wish, you can join us on the broad highway. With this attitude, you cannot fail. The consciousness of your belief is sure to come to you. There you go, Paul. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks,
and
Mike.
Welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Mike, as always. Yeah, welcome, everyone. So that we finally saw that faith in some kind of God was a part of our makeup. So I think there has been, many of us have lived under a huge amount of faith in that which was playing God, which was the head, yes? So we had faith in its forecasts, its critiques, its summaries, its take on us, on others, on the world, on how it was going to be like. So there was great faith in that. This is what we admit, really. So that the faith in that failed system, if you admit that it has failed, that faith has the possibility of being moved by this way of life, this design for living, this recovery, to faith in the infinite, really. And I would say we're more faith than anything else. Yeah. So there's faith in the thought system, and then the thought system produces a lot of mental anxiety that we respond to false evidence as if it's real. That's faith. What else could it be? Yeah. False evidence cannot be real. It's false. It can appear to be real to what's real, which is us. Yeah. So there's an activity going on. There's something's playing God at all times. Yeah. It could be God. It could be that which is not God. And this is what it says in our book. First, you got to quit playing God. It doesn't work. Well, I found there was a trap there, because if I'm identified with that which is playing God, and I set out on a course to quit playing God, that's playing God. You tell me when it stops playing God. If that which is playing God tries to quit playing God, that's playing God. So this isn't about that which is playing God stopping playing God. It's about not allowing it to get our godlike juice, so to speak, to sort of fuel its activity of playing God. So in one sense, in recovery, when you're in that Rule 62 and you're not taking yourself so seriously, then that which used to be like CNN news flashes now seems like Comedy Central, yeah? Because that you're not taking seriously that which is playing God. It's still playing God, yeah? Yeah. You don't quit playing God, you lose interest in that which is playing God. Yeah. And what happens? You gain interest in, if you want to call it God, a higher power, Buddha nature, whatever, your innermost, the unsuspected resource, inner resource. I don't care what you name it. It's the actually of the event of having that faith placed in the infinite, whatever that may be or may not be, is going to be that which demonstrates results. You're going to start traveling lighter through a life that you used to travel heavy through. Yeah. Because now, instead of your director or your GPS being that failed system, which is playing God, you're now listening to something else. Yeah. Even though you're hearing that which is playing God, you're truly listening to someone else. And maybe you got tuned into that silent message through the principles of AA. Yeah. Through doing service, through doing all this stuff, because it brought us out of that orbit of self-centeredness. Yeah, we broke out of that gravitational field, and now a possibility becomes available, which is I can be free from it. You can't be free as it. Yeah. The identification as it, looking like you're free or not, is a bondage of self. Yeah. The bondage of self can be you think you're a free self. That's bondage of self. You can be weighed down terribly, bondage of self. There's an act of being identified as something that you're not. That's the bondage of self. It doesn't matter if it has gold chains or fucking iron chains. There's a bondage to it, yes? And somehow the living of life becomes an interpretation about the living of life. And there's something that the interpretation lacks, which is the immediacy of the living of life. It's an interpretation of the living of life. Yeah. It misses the heartbeat. It misses the pulse. It's like you got your fingers on the elbow. You're not feeling the pulse of it. Yeah. So you're on a time delay and you got to wait for the head to tell you how you are or how it is or how's the day going. You don't understand. You have no idea. You're out to lunch in a sense. And we're relying on it to be a provider, a good direction, a GPS that works, and it's failed. And it's not personal. The feeling of its failedness is super personal. That's one of its aspects, but it's not personal. All of us have been defeated by self, a singularity. A strain of viewing or looking at things called self-centeredness is what has defeated us. Yeah. We are now going to look at its common manifestations. So if you wear these glasses of self and you're looking at life and situations and circumstances, you're going to probably have a reaction of resentment quite a lot. Yeah, because you think you got something coming that other people don't, that you have a sense of entitlement, that this should da. It all comes along. It's not just the glasses, it has an audio segment. So the glasses are seeing false evidence appearing real, and then you're listening to a narration about the false evidence appearing real. I can talk about it because I've had relief from it. And so have all of us. Maybe they were momentary, but even though they were momentary, what was revealed was that innermost, was that unsuspected inner resource. Now the head tries to cover it up immediately and get back into the business of smallness, and enlarging minute little things and getting completely caught up in something that doesn't really even matter. Yeah. That shenanigan goes on and on and on. If you are praying for that to stop, yeah, it's not listening to it. How can I not listen to that? Well, easily. If you see it's not you, you're going to lose interest in it, really, because your marriage to it is based on its being you, really. That's why you put it up with it. You've tried to protect it and defend it. You try to fit yourself around it because you're under the belief that it's actually you, and it's not. That's the possibility of being free, not as it, but from it. That's it. Recognizing the head is living as if something is so, that's not so. If you rely on the head, you're going to take yourself to be what the head takes you to be. Yeah, a long-lasting, independent, separate thing that's going to have maybe a short life. It may not be as long lasting as it thinks. Yeah. But it's going to be, and it's not going to be independent. You're going to constantly be at the effect of other things like weather, your leg condition, your knee, people, your boss, tons of this shit. This long-lasting, independent, separate thing isn't going to do that well. Yeah. And then you strive for connection because your life is premised on separation. Yeah. You believe a lie, and now you're striving for connection. So you get it through, we used to get it through gangs when I was growing up. Yeah. When I was in 9th grade, we had these gangs that were called fraternities in high school in Long Island. And by joining that group, I had a sense of belonging and a sense of connection, and also a good connection to alcohol and drugs from the older guys in there, and protection. Yeah. This is what we're always searching for. If you look at a lot of people's problems, it's based on this sense of separation, really. They don't feel connected. Why? Because they feel separate. So they try anything. They'll join any group, book reading, whatever. They get it. Some people are paying tons of money to go to retreats because that's where they meet their friends. That's where they feel connected to others. Yeah. I don't care. That's great. Just feel that connection. But why is it so imperative? Because there's a deep faith in you're separate, and you're not. Yeah. That which has defeated us. That one activity has defeated millions. That's amazing. And yet the commonality of the defeat is disguised with an extreme personalness. You listen to people talking about their thoughts, their feelings, and their reactions to life at meetings, and you got to finally come to the conclusion, how did they get my thoughts? Because they're not your thoughts, and it's not their thoughts. It's their alcoholic thoughts. They're a stock version of extreme self-centeredness. Yeah. Or you're not much, but you're all that you think about. That's basically the condition. Yeah, we're all seemingly suffering from. We all are sitting in different chairs, different locations, different financial levels, whatever, but we were been defeated by the same thing. So we find great connection when we join the community. Actually, the recovery is a we. Yeah, it's not me, it's a we. This is the point. They're scholars of AA. They know everything, every sentence, every period. We're not there. We're talking about the exact nature of the wrong. Yeah, I think it's a faith in a system that is in the act of being identified as self. You are not doing the act of being identified as self. Your head is doing it independently of what we are, mechanically. Yeah. You're not doing it. See that, please. You're not going to be able to quit playing God as that which is playing God. It's not going to come. It's not going to work. I'm just humbly telling you, in my own experience, it does not work. You can't get out of self. Self can't get out of self. The premise we're sharing is that which believes itself, you are not that. You are not a mental condition. Maybe you're not, you're appearing through these things, but maybe you are what they try to point out called a spiritual condition. Maybe there's an inherent condition that's not based on circumstances and situations. Yeah, it's not affected by the weather or affected by how much money you lost or won today. It's not affected. It's always available at all times. Let's say it's the onness or the consciousness or the awareness of all things and no things. We are at least of that. Yeah. You don't believe you can't find rest there? Of course you can. It's the most open, it's the gateless gate. It's always available at all times, right where we are, with no requirement necessary. Yeah. All you need to do is have a loss of faith in finite self and there'll be a gaining of faith in the infinite. You cannot lose the faith in finite self as self. That's one of the warnings, all right? Just do what we do, go where we go, and the process is going to cause an effect, which is a loss of interest in self. Yeah, and then all new vistas are going to open up. You may think you did it, but in fact, all you're doing is observing an effect that something else produced. Yes, which is the innermost, the spiritual condition. It has produced what we're witnessing now. Hallelujah. Able to enjoy peace of mind, feeling a presence, yeah, feeling a new power flow in. You know, all these effects have been shared by many, many, many people who suffered under the same affliction, the same tyranny, by being relieved of the tyranny. Yeah, these are what it looks like when you're freed from the bondage of self. They describe it in the book. If you've had examples of it in your life, you'll feel intimacy when you read those things or when you hear it at a book study. You'll go, wow, this is capturing exactly what's going on with me. Yeah. Because the same thing that they went through, recovering from this bondage of self, we're going through. The we and the them are not the dominant thing. It's what we're recovering from is the commonality. And therefore, we're showing common traits of relief from the same fucking thing. Yeah. So I hope that's why Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're not going to budge from this fucking point. Yeah. When I don't want to get scholarly about the inner workings of whatever. There's masters of every step. Yes. I want to just offer a possibility and just frame it in a couple of sentences from page 64. Are you convinced that self is what has defeated you? Yeah. Being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, is what has defeated us, we will now look at its common manifestations, because you can't see self. It's a sense that's produced. There is no self, but you get the sense of it by seeing through its manifestations. Resentment, yep, is a manifestation of self in our life. Fear, actually mental anxiety, I would say, mimicking fear, is a manifestation of self in our lives. Harming other people in the pursuit of what we want, in other words, not having that many principles concerned, we want just get what we want, no matter how it affects others, yeah, is also a manifestation of self in our life. Yeah, they are not ours. That's the message. You know, you can say, oh, it sounds like everything I've ever heard. I don't think so, because I never heard this in AA. That's why we're here sharing it. Yeah. So let's put it as clear as possible. That's the diagnosis. There you go. Right out of the book, page 64. Check it out. Did Bill W. live by that? No. He went back to thinking he was the problem. We manufacture our own misery, all that shit. Yes. But in a couple of paragraphs in that book, the light shined out with any differentiation. It was very, very super clear. Yeah. And maybe he didn't even know it, because I truly believe he was used like we're being used to facilitate. And him and Dr. Bob were being used to give birth to a way of life called recovery. Yeah. They had no idea what even impregnated them, probably. Yeah. But they gave birth to it. He had trouble, a lot of trouble in his own life, dealing with whatever his self seemed to be. Yet he was the carrier of the great message with Dr. Bob and the first 100 people. Yes. Did every one of them have a super clear attitude outlook? Probably not, because what comes through us is not dependent on how us are, really. This beauty can come through the most ugliest expression. It doesn't matter, yeah? But recognize the diamond for itself, not what it came out of. Yeah. And there was a nugget where it says being convinced self manifests in various ways is what has defeated us. That is a diagnosis. Yeah. If you're with it, let's look at the common manifestations of self in our life. Why and if someone was leading you in this process, they would not stand for you to say they're your resentments, because that would be a misunderstanding coming from this understanding. This understanding are resentments or manifestations of self in one's life. They're not yours. That's the understanding there. Was it Bill's understanding? Who knows? But in that moment, it came down. That's the understanding that got birthed. Yeah, in the big book. It's right there. A couple of sentences, but there's a shift from, admitting the manifestation of self has defeated them and then naming them. Resentment is the first one. We're going to look at that, fear and harms done to other in the pursuit of all that we've wanted. So we can check out how we have been defeated by self, not how you fucked yourself up. Yeah. If the other way works, go ahead and do it. But I've seen people who live from that and they're 30 years sober and they still haven't outgrown fear and anxiety. I don't want that. I don't want it. I don't. I do not want to keep calling something that's not mine, mine, especially if it heavies me out completely. I do not want to tithe to that God and worship anxiety 35 years after an event. Yeah. To be weighed down by guilt and shame based on that I was a doer of something I never even did. I was compelled to act that way by what took me over. You're not going to hang me for that crime. You're not. It's like being enslaved to something, beholding to something. You tithe like fucking inconsequential anxiety, hoping for the big fear that you're really afraid of not to happen. It's like you're tithing fear to a God of fear. I'm just not into it, I think perhaps there's a better way. Trusting infinite rather than finite self. This is the whole book right here. He says, we finally saw that faith in some kind of God was a part of our makeup. Okay. Then he goes down to one of my favorite readings in the book, which is the bottom of page 53, 55, where he says, in this book, you will read the experience of man. Oh, wait, no, that's not it. It's page 53, where he talks about, let us think a little more closely, the bottom of page 53. This is in the big book of AA. Yeah. Let us think a little more closely without knowing it. That's the condition for something to occur. Without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith. So perhaps there's a better way. The way that didn't work was faith in the finite self. The possibility, the invitation of recovery is maybe, just maybe, that faith, which you are, if put into the infinite, would work a whole lot better. That's it. That's the premise of the deal. Yeah. Let's tell the truth. Step one, we're fucked. Yeah. And hopefully someone will point it out to you. That being fucked was the product of faith in finite self. What? Yeah. That same faith in putting it into a different hand may enrich your day instead of enslave you to your past history. What? Yeah. Perhaps this is the better way. Trusting the infinite rather than finite self. So the trust is going to be either way. Faith is going to be there either way. It's what the faith is put in is how it's going to manifest here. If it's put in self, we know how it manifests. We've lived that life, haven't we? If it's put in the higher power, we now, many of us here with many, many years, know what it's like to live with that faith in the higher power. They're quite distinctly different, but it's the same faith, yes? So he says here, without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith. This is not a faith like Hinduism or Buddhism or Catholicism. It's faith, a force, yeah? For did we not believe in our own reasoning? And I'm telling you now, what you're believing is not your own reasoning. We share the same fucking thought system. We do. Most of us are looking at life from self-centeredness. That is a mental perspective. Yeah. And for some of us, it drove us to incomprehensible, pitiful demoralization. But we can't get out of it as it. Self can't get out of self. As Einstein said, the system that's producing the problem is not going to be where you find the solution. Yeah, something like that. So he goes here. Did we not have confidence in our ability to think? Or you want to say manage, yeah? Which is that major delusion where even when you're presented with complete defeat and the wreckage of your seeming managing the life, your head will just exclude that and say, well, if I only manage better, it's going to work. Yes, this is the stubborn illusion that's like a weather front in us, yeah? So did we not have confidence in our ability to think? That's trust in finite self. What was that but a sort of faith? That's extreme trust in finite self. Yes, we had been faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. So in one way or another, we discovered like right now, that faith had been, and I'm going to add another letter, and is involved all the time. Faith has been involved all the time and is involved all the time. Faith. It's where our faith is put in is going to produce the effects of our life. There you go. There is a better way, trusting the infinite rather than finite self. So why not we learn about finite self and find out about the infinite and instead of trying to learn about the infinite and find it out by self, let's just learn about the self and hopefully you'll see it's not you. And therefore you'll find out about the infinite. I would say as the infinite, really. Yeah, so there it is. Thanks for letting me rant. I try to say it as clearly as possible, thousands of different ways. I'm like, John Coltrane, the Love Supreme, just constantly having the same basic theme and then noting around it, trying to just going through the back door, the side door, email, text, TikTok, whatever, just attempting. I don't care if you like it or not, just to understand the wording and see what meaning is there. And maybe I'm insane, but I don't see they're presenting self and us as the same thing. I don't. I just don't think so. Yeah, I don't. What gets driven by the 100 forms? Yeah. What goes through a self-imposed crisis? It sounds like we're something, let's say, very vague, that gets imposed by self at a lot of the time. It's not saying we're self. It says it's self-imposed, yeah? Any life run on self-will. It doesn't say any life run on your will, because it's not your will. It says self-will, yes? So can there be will in your life without self? Definitely. Definitely, for sure. Yeah. All right, anyone, Mike?
straight fire, y'all. Hey, if you guys have any questions, please use the raise hand feature. Paul will be willing to take questions. And if you have a small comment or something that you'd like to share with the group, then he's open to that as well. Greg, I see your hand up. Come on in.
Yeah. You know, I don't know what day it was, but at the end of the meeting, after the meeting, myself and I don't remember the gentleman's name from Germany and Mickey was online, and I was driving with a friend, and you know, I've been going. How do I say this? Well, I guess you could probably relate to, so I don't know if anybody has been going through cancer or had cancer. But I know that you've had a cold before, probably, or the flu. The flu's probably worse than the cold. And it tends to fire off that self in that state, you know, the body state, you know, it's trying to get attention. And so there are some days that are super difficult. I just want to say, fuck it. But it doesn't mean that I want to drink, but it's just like, it gets so tiring, you know, and the message gets, I don't know, muted maybe, or blurred, or it's just not comfortable, you know, and I want to feel good. I mean, come on, right? Everybody wants to feel good. I mean, and a lot of us are probably getting older here, so we're feeling that as well, right? Yeah, it does really help. I've been spending a fair amount of time with Brian, which is new to our meeting here as well. And that's been super helpful, you know, being in service. And we actually met with my sponsor today, and they're asking me about, you know, my health. And I noticed as I was explaining it, I started to feel worse. And I'm going like, you know what? I don't want to talk about this anymore. Not to be rude, I just don't, it's not helping. You know, I mean, it's really cool that they care and they get to experience their service to me, right? You know, being supportive. But it seems like when I do my best to not be housed in a pain body and be free and in service, there's something that happens. I don't feel it. It goes away. You know, I don't know how, you probably could explain it better than me. I'm not always that great of expressing my feelings, so I am working at it, and I really appreciate the absence of that when it doesn't seem present. You know, and then there's more presence of the real me, right? Or the true self. And that I really, I thoroughly enjoy. You know, not like was a gentleman's name that spoke last night? I thought he was here. And he was talking about the light on the leaves.
Yeah, Craig.
That was beautiful, you know. Yeah. So anyway, that's yeah.
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 Hey, Greg, you know, when I used to hear the word traveling lighter, it would bring up a lot of meanings that I found to be incorrect. Yeah. And then over the years, how it's shook out is traveling lighter may not change the circumstances I'm in, but it will allow me to travel lighter through those circumstances. Yes. And whatever those circumstances are, and the idea that the old attitude and outlook was trying to fit everything around it. Now we fit ourselves around what's happening. Yes. And to me, this is the art of living. And the art of living isn't always, you know, shredding the cleanest wave. Yes. It's not. It's like how you go through an unbearable condition. Yeah. Yeah. How do you get over a loss of a son or a daughter, or you don't, but how can you live with these things? I remember one time I flew back to New York to do some talks at a rehab there, New Jersey. And they have a old house as an office, and it's just funky, but I've been going there for like 16 years or more, I think. So I got there and I ran up the rickety stairs and went into this little funky office, and there was this couple who were trying to get their son back into the program, this rehab, and he had been in there, left, drank, and got into a car accident and had broke his back and stuff. And these two people were in the program 40 years and 30-something years, and they knew that their love of their child wasn't going to get him sober. You know, it was clear. Now, could you imagine having that biological feeling between a mother and a son to come to terms with that they weren't going to be the greatest influence in their son's life? In other words, he would, if he was going to get sober, he would probably hear it from someone else, really. Yeah. But I saw these two people, and maybe they had like you were at a dance contest, and then they had you had to do the twist instead of a beautiful waltz or something, but they pulled it off as beautiful as it can be. Yes. Even though the dance sucks, I could see the recovery was shining through. So this is what happens. And, we all have our seat assignments, and just looking at the seat, it'll tell you the assignment. Yeah. And what we go through, fairness and justice and stuff are, life is. Yeah. Life is. You can't try to soothe the uncertainty of it by thinking it's this way. It just does what it does. And so, but I believe, I humbly have experienced that the relief from this bondage of self has allowed me to travel through a lot of shit that I wouldn't have traveled well through. Yes. And after a while, this ride is not going to bend to your will. Do you know what I mean? Like the roller coaster isn't going to be a smooth train ride. It's going to have its ups and downs. This is what we signed up for or whatever. This is where we are. So I found traveling lighter is more than enough. To me, it's been the most valuable aspect of life, the moment-to-moment living of it in a lighter way. Yes? So no matter how heavy the circumstances or the situations are. And, that's like, that doctor that talked about acceptance in the big book. Yes. The acceptance of stuff. I don't think you do acceptance. I think something works on you to the point that where you become accepting. Yes. And I feel this design for living is a way of you becoming accepting of what is really, whatever it is today. To a point, I don't mean roll over and die. It may make you an incredible advocate to have it change, but there's an acknowledgement of what's going on. Yeah. And my acknowledgement, how I greet most things now is like, I'm outmatched, really. I don't have there wasn't chapters in my book that tell me how to manage the unmanageability of life. The way that I travel through it is admitting I'm outmatched, really. Yeah.
That's what I said to my sponsor today. I said, I just gotta turn over, man. This is like, and what's interesting is tomorrow I may be super happy.
Exactly. And this is the point. This is the trusting the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trusting the process is not trusting the mental forecast, really. Right. That's basically it. It's always a shift of faith. from the failed system to that which works. Yeah. And of course, the gravitational pull in the failed system gets stronger in those heavy situations. Yes. Yes. It gets that its voice sort of gets louder. It seems to be more convincing. Yeah. Because it's using what the circumstances to ride you into the grave, so to speak. Yeah. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's just making it a second at a fucking time. And that's the enlightened way. Yes. Yes. Everyone here goes through dirtiness. Shit happens. Yes. No one is walking on air above the fray. Yes. People who have been freed from it feel more the suffering and the pain than from people, more than people who are totally in the fray, truly, because we are not of a separate thing. This whole event is amazing, really. Yeah. When you're sort of free, you're going to have a lot of rich sadness. A lot of sadness is going to come through that never finished the circle or the circuit it needed to complete, because your head abruptly denied it or abruptly distracted. It comes through. Yeah. It has its whole life cycle in you. And when it dissipates, there's like a rich sadness. It's completed it. Yes. This place is demoralizing many times. I've seen people, I mean, how more demoralizing can it be when you've been freed from a seemingly hopeless condition of mind and body and other people aren't? It's fucking incredible. Yeah. You just can have wonder and awe. And, when it says not to be in the outcome business, it's the outcome of you also, not just my outcomes, but your outcomes. Yeah. All we can do is offer what we feel is truly helpful. And this is what I feel is truly helpful. Yeah.
You said a few weeks ago, you said, once you do your fifth step, and then you do 6 and 7, and, character defects or whatever still come up, but at least you said, try to act like they're not, try to be the person that you don't have them. Is that the way I heard you say it?
Well, yeah, that was the joke. The guy said, act as if that, have been removed, and there you go, because this is your power, really.
Yeah.
You don't know. We're having a subjective experience. Yeah. We're making things how they are. Things aren't making us how we are unless we've given that the meaning to those things to do that. We are the meaning giver.
Yeah, I would imagine that most of the people that are in Hollywood that are famous characters made themselves up to be that way. You know what I'm saying? They became that. It wasn't something they were before that. They were educated that they wanted to be that. I mean,
hey, I've met some and they're fucked also.
They're fucked up too.
Yeah, they have a beautiful place and their bane of their life are those leaf blowers. All the rich are always having new construction, and he took me in his beautiful area and he says, wait, give it 5 minutes, and then the leaf blowers from somewhere nearby. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's we're all winging it. There's no one has their shit together. Yeah, so I'm really happy, Greg, that you come here and we can participate, and hopefully what you are will use us to better your experience. Yes,
it's already happening.
That's what what better way could us be used? Yes, so here's the Zoom, and then the Zoom being appropriate to every little square of the Zoom, because it's, all these squares is in a bigger square, yes?
Right. Brian and I were so grateful to be in a group of a bunch of other people with Christian the last 4 weeks.
Yes,
And get it from this view, you know what I'm saying?
yes.
And like, wow. So you did well, or either that or he listened.
Yes, well, the thing is, it's not the only view. I mean,
Yeah.
there's plenty of room for
There's-
other views, but
Yeah.
the self-centered view is very, very jealous and very, very possessive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like the Old Testament God, tell you the truth. All right, thank you, Greg.
Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. Next up, we have Peter. Peter, you have a question?
I don't know, can you hear me? Or do I need to put a headset on?
No, we can hear you, yes.
It's my first time actually speaking. I've chimed into a few meetings, and your words have really highlighted. I spent some time in program years ago, and I had some sort of recovery, but I was never given the focus that you've given, and it seems to be the missing piece. Yeah, and I had a few near-death experiences from this bondage of self. Yeah, and through that I could see, like, I wasn't the thing that tried to take my life, but yet it still reformulates. It still keeps getting me in trouble, and I can definitely acknowledge the failed system, and but I definitely don't seem to know how I'm supposed to manage my life. It's like that's all I know is this failed system, and it's just it's really painful to just find myself keep relying on it. It keeps convincing me it's trustworthy, but yet it just keeps bringing me to these situations where I get into these resentments because things don't go how this best thinking that I really thought I had these thoughts that I've really evaluated the situation, and this is going to go the way, and it doesn't. It just keeps happening. And it's, I get identified with that, like I'm such a failure. Yeah. Because so yeah. And then I see that's where the drinking or the wanting to smoke a joint, comes in, because it's just like, what's wrong with me? Yeah. Like, cause I keep trying, and it's, yeah, yeah. So I really am grateful to hear this pointing, and to get a bit of relief, like, because I really see in the past that, like, a day like today is the kind of day that would take me to, like, I should just check out of this place, yeah, because so many things didn't go well. But because I've already played out that scene, I know that door don't work, like, yeah. And it's like that's not the direction. But I'm still finding myself, getting into these cul-de-sacs, and like, so yeah, I recognize, like, I've been trying to get through this or understand this on my own. I drifted away from meetings when I went off to India years ago, and I haven't been able to get back because I haven't really seen a real, how do you say? Because in the meetings I was going to, I never got this level of, what is it? Yeah, like you're really talking about the thing that you're so brilliant at really kind of honing in on the point that if it's not gotten, there's no relief. There's no chance at relief. Yeah, and it's just like trying to, what is that? Put music on while you're on this fucking Titanic.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, and I just want to find out, how to get some, how to find an easier way, because I'm not getting any rest. I'm not getting any sense of.
Peter, you know what I would suggest?
Yeah.
See, the action figure is having its own battle going on, and then there's
Yeah.
these other skirmishes. On that one level of the action figure going through its battle, surrender is the key. Admitting that you're not going to pull it off. And then the action figure may become willing to do certain suggestions and principles you can find in recovery or some other way, and just borrow a design for living for a while, so the action figure can get straightened out and stuff, and therefore there won't be so much cognitive dissonance where there's a getting of it in the head, let's say, but the action figure's still overwhelmed. I think that's what I would say is go through the surrender door, so to speak, not the knowledge door, just the surrender door, and then just try to go to a meeting again, not to see what you can get out of, but just to feel the presence of that tradition 5, the loving God, expressing itself through our group presence. You can feel a lot of energy at the meeting that's not coming from the people talking or anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you'll be fed that way. That on that levels, because the action figure obviously is anxious because it feels like it's still going to be ridden by the same jockey and shit like that. It needs like some concrete in this, level of action figure. It needs some concrete assurance, and that would be going to the meeting, putting chairs up, and then admitting that you feel a lot chilled out after the meeting. Yeah. And so that's my suggestion. Take it or not. That's how I see it. Yeah, because your head is there, let's say, and your heart is there, but the bondage of the action figure is stuck in that little flypaper level. Yeah. It's still getting stuck by its failed maneuvers. So yeah, I like, to me, the admittance that I was outmatched or fucked has been a real jumping point for the action figure to get sufficiently changed where it wasn't destroying its life and others' lives every day. Yes. And so I needed a way of life. Because the spirit can fly, yeah, easily, but sometimes it's held down by the action figure having a lot of old impressions and behavioral patterns that need to be changed, for it to sort of be complementary to the spirit, so to speak. Yeah. So I went through, it was a lot of processing, but I was happy about it, really. I mean, it was, I had to be worked on by this process to get the action figure sort of on a straight and narrow that worked, because it had a tendency to fall off the cliff, So yeah, that's my suggestion. Yeah. See, on the mind level, it's so easy. The physical level can be slogging through stuff, yeah, because the light has like concentrated into things, yeah, so it can get heavier. And I feel the action figures changes need principles and new habits and shit like that, and then it gets aligned, and then that great flute player, once the flute is gotten to a certain condition, can really play through the flute. Yeah. Yeah. That's my feeling about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. So you can hear when people share, you can hear them coming from different levels, so to speak. And a lot of times we want to spend a lot of time in one level, and it turns into sort of a denial of the responsibilities of the other level. Some people I think in spirituality like to call it spiritual bypassing. That doesn't work. I don't see it that way. But in that way, there's an elephant in the room. It needs to be someone has to lead it out of the room. Yeah, you can't get all new furniture and a couch and a new rug without with the elephant in the room. It's you need, yeah. So, and that's what I feel sometimes. The things wanting to promote a big change, but there's the elephant in the room still. Like a lot of people call me, and the last thing they want to talk about is active addiction. But you're talking with them about all these other things, and there's this huge elephant in the room. It's pointless to me. Yeah. So first things first, and yeah.
No.
On this level of time, being under active addiction and shit, first things first would be having you as this action figure do something different a day at a time so like we at that point on that level we act ourselves into right thinking, not think ourselves into right action. Yes, so you just do what we do and it will produce the effects which will allow a flowering of that easily recognized quote unquote spirit. Yeah. Right now, the vase is too small and there's not enough good soil or light and water. It's not going to really thrive. Yeah. Here on this level. Yeah. I'm going into a lot of shit right now, the Course in Miracle levels, but I hope you're getting something through it. Yeah.
I am. I mean, I started playing with the Course in Miracles these last few weeks, and it's definitely also, yeah, it's just putting all that right in your face. Yeah, these first 7 lessons, I go past, and then I find myself wanting to start over again because it's just like this is like so. It's pretty ruthless. Yeah, it's really like. Yeah,
well, to what you're not.
Yeah.
Yes, but I mean, compassion can look like ruthlessness
Yeah.
from a faulty way of thinking, for sure.
Yeah.
But no. So that's all. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't know if ruthless is the right word, but it's
just put it.
It's very intense. Yeah, it's very like yeah. I appreciate it.
It puts you on the dime and tells you, describes what's going on, and it can be uncomfortable, which is, the thing that's actually producing what's going on gets uncomfortable. Yeah, it doesn't like to have a light shown on it. Yeah, of course. That's the same thing with the parasitical movement in us, with the addiction. It likes to forget miracles in 20 minutes. It doesn't, it's not, it has a very strong bias. If you really saw the ship of self in the expanse of the ocean, you would see it's leaning way, it's ready to capsize at any second. It just keeps you blinded in only seeing the ship. You don't realize how precarious its bias and its leanings are. Yeah. You're trying to right the ship. Well, I'm happy you came, my friend, and feel always welcome to come to Zen Bitch Slap.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Peter.
Hey, Goran, you're on from Sweden.
Hi, Paul.
Can you send me your email? Another guy got in touch with me and wants to get in touch with someone else in Sweden.
Nice.
He listens to Zen Bitch Slap. So if you can send me your information, that would be great. And I can give him your information. I forgot his name. I think it's Tobias. I don't know how you present it. Pronounce
Tobias, I guess.
Tobias.
Paul, should I enter it through Zen Bitch Slap? That page?
Yeah, that gets to me.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's great that you're here, so I can pass it on. Yeah, we want to start a
Swedish
Swedish
one.
Bitch Slap.
Yeah, that's good.
I've been in
that,
Sweden. I was in Sweden I did some AA stuff there years and years ago in Stockholm for 3
Paul,
weeks.
it's so interesting because I remember that I was in contact with the guy. I think was his name Marcus or?
I don't know, but yeah. A guy, you know, the Reflections of the 12 Steps, that first video was produced by a guy from Sweden, Marcus.
Yeah, because I remember I talked to him and he said, yeah, he could come up and take you with him up. I had some contact with him. So it
Yes.
was, so I remember I listened to it when you were, I wasn't there in Stockholm, but
Yes.
I
It was a
remember
long time ago.
2008, 2008.
2008. Wow.
Yeah.
I love
So it was-
Stockholm though. I had a very nice time there. Actually, I didn't. I felt like I was getting attacked by some demonic possessions. Seriously.
The Swedes or?
Not the Swedes.
No.
Energetically, I was having a very, I was too jacked up there. Felt like I was going to have a heart attack every 5 minutes. It was very weird, very uncomfortable. But but I loved Stockholm in August is beautiful, very nice.
Yeah, it is. And up here where I live, up in the north, it's
Wow.
200 kilometers up north. It's really beautiful, and
Yeah,
it's like
Sweden
the
is awesome.
old. Yeah, so maybe we will have a Swedish retreat, a Sembetslap in Sweden.
I hope
sometime.
so.
Yeah,
I would go to Sweden quickly. Yes, I like Sweden.
that would be cool. It was lucky that you just said it, Paul, because I need to rush. I have a date with my girlfriend. So
All right.
so
Great.
I will send you my email. So perfect. And
Thank you. Thank you.
and I was just I was planning a question, and it was like when Ramana is talking, he's talking about Satchitananda, you know, the consciousness bliss, and with the addictive mind, when I think about bliss, you know, it's like being on speed or cocaine, or you're really high, you know. But I figured, you know, it's like for me, what I see as bliss now is like the ease and comfort and the like the restfulness
Yes.
and the like the contentment. And I guess that's maybe how an ordinary person is reacting, you know. I understand that our brains are like jacked from the addiction, you know.
Yeah. Well, I would say the maturing of bliss looks like satisfaction and contentment.
Yeah.
Bliss matures, it stabilizes as satisfaction and contentment.
Yeah. It's like, it's really easy. So
It's
great.
old person bliss.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's somehow easy, you know. It's like, it's the effortless
Yes.
thing, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
thanks, my
great.
friend. We gotta
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, take care.
Yes,
See
send
you.
me that
Bye-bye.
message. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
I'm happy I can get that to the guy.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna say goodbye, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Jane had her hand up, but she put it down. Jane, did you still want to come in and ask a question?
Yeah, she could come. Miranda
Hi,
also.
Rob. Hey, Paul. Since you've been around me a little bit, we don't know each other all that well. I was just turning 30 years sober before I even recognized what I was up against. I did not know that I was in the bondage of self for almost 30 years. And the last 3 or 4 years has been this discovery of alcoholism. I'm one of those that thought that the second half of the first step was, if I quit drinking, the rest of my life is going to be fine, that my life's not unmanageable. So I walked around for 30 years in Marin County AA, full of myself, a ton of ego, a ton of arrogance. And I can't apologize for it because I didn't know that's what was happening. I was so scared to let anybody see me. But I want to hear more, and I know this is remedial for many people, possibly because this is new to me, but how do I distinguish between self and me with the component of being responsible for what this person does in the world. I don't want to say, oh, please don't blame me. It was self. I was selfing because I'm the one doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you'll get a sense of getting aligned with the different frequencies. Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll just get a sense, you'll be able to discriminate between things you thought was just one big glob. You'll see, you like the spectrum of frequencies, there's some aberrations in there. Let's say selfing. And then you'll recognize the difference in some of the other frequencies. They're all seemingly happening similarly, but there's distinct difference. And you get to feel it after a while. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, like a sense.
So just keep listening and it will sink in. I see my buddy Al
Most
down there.
definitely. Start
So
saying,
when we went on Zoom, you know, I got exposed to different meetings, and the one I love the most, one of their big sayings is self cannot reveal self to self. And I had to sit with that for a couple of years before that would sink in, that I am not going to be able to identify self because I'm using my
yes.
baggage and all that crap. I mean, that's remedial. But just keep listening and it'll start to make sense.
Well, it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not, you'll feel something.
Okay, great. Thanks,
Thought
Paul.
to make sense could be dangerous in a way anyway. You'll just feel a little different, I feel, and then go with that. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. It's nice to see you, Jane. It's a very nice surprise, you know.
I am so happy to find you.
The prophet is very rarely recognized in his own village, in their own village. So very good. So and Miranda, all right, let's do it quick, if we can.
I'll do my fucking best.
A lot of us have a lot of important things to do.
I have a lot of fucking important things to say, so we'll just see how it works out. I just wanted really to say thank you and to give like a weird fucking plug because just I hate crosstalk in AA and I love it here actually, so it's funny. I am really grateful for just the like just kind of the craziness that's come out here a number of times in the past, like and just fucking freaking out and like sharing the freaking out, and then it's helped me to connect with some folks here that have just it's just been so incredibly helpful. But what's also been just such a fucking stunner for me is Course in Miracles. Like right now it's helping me every single day. And like Peter, you just mentioned like your experience with it. Like I seriously like thought that was anything written with that kind of language was absolutely barf inducing and like fucking silly bullshit. And that's that I've been liberated from that head shit that's kept me from like hearing the message that's in there for me is just working. And it's working right now. And as long as it works, I'm going to fucking keep doing that. And it's really, if you, for me, there's a lot of religious trauma here, like whatever the fuck that is, you know, so that the rejection of all of that, like there's this reconciliation right now that's occurring, like kind of a reclaiming for the action figure, I guess. And it's just it's just like it was described. It's fucking brutal for, as you said, Paul, for what you're not. And if you have been brutal to what you're not, if what you're not has been has brutalized you in the way that it's done to me, just like horrible self-abuse, whatever. I never used air quotes before, but it happens all the time on Zoom now. So I'm the fucking air quote person now. Anyway, like I think that was a perfect description for me. Just yes, bring the fucking brutality to this brutal shit. And it is so soothing and clarifying and healing. And yeah, so as long as whatever, like you say all the time, Paul, like when in Rome, render under Caesar, what is Caesar's, like all of that shit, like that has been so liberating for me because there are apparent needs here. and responding to those needs with the fucking pale water, like literally, like it just literally, like I trust this person who's taught me so much new. And it's like the Netflix, fuck yeah. Like the Netflix just kill it sometimes. Like I'm just so shook, and I just fucking turn on my couple of shows and whatever. Sometimes it's like, give me something to think about, make me laugh, forget about everything. What else? Well, you know, whatever it is. Thank you, bless all of you. Grateful for each and every one of you.
Thank you. I'm going to withhold my other suggestions for Netflix things, but I have some good ones, but they may be very yeah, I'm going to keep it to myself. If you're very interested, I'll let you know. Yeah, there's some shows I really like, old shows. Yeah.
I'd like to hear that, Paul.
You know what? I told you guys, there's one I like that's about the Green Frontier. It's only 7 issues. It's sort of about shamanism in South America in an interesting way. But I really like don't take this is from the action figure. Don't hold it against me. But I like a British show called Utopia that got canceled after 2 years. That's unbelievable. Incredible soundtrack. Very cool.
Okay.
A British show called Utopia. It's almost, and it's yeah, you'll see the similarities between with it and real life. And it was way before what we went through in real life just a few years ago. Yeah, so it's pretty good, very interesting, but it's very violent and stuff, and ruthless. Yeah, so one time I gave a thing and some people thought it actually turned into pornographic, and so I tend to keep it to myself now. But I was into this movie because it was had nothing to do with how other people saw it. It just you know, when you're swimming in time, you know, it seems familiar. And then sometimes you see a work of art or a film that takes you out of that familiar time. And it's like a really nice living demonstration of the how time is given relevance by us. Yeah. Yeah. So, but I'm not going to make that mistake and advise you to watch this other movie. So I'll stick with Utopia. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me say goodbye. Dennis W. Nice to meet you.
Paul. Hey,
Yes.
Paul, real quick, Paul. Could you explain where you hold your in-person meeting at? It was at St. Andrews and
Yeah,
Marin?
St. Andrews in Marin City at 1
Okay.
o'clock. Yeah, we have a live meeting still. It's at St. Andrews, 1 o'clock on Saturday, and we do the Zoom 1 o'clock Pacific time, and we do the Zoom with a live meeting. It's small, but it's nice. And then we go out for coffee in Sausalito. So Jane, yes, you can come if you're available. Yes.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for reminding me. Yeah. Dennis, nice to see you there. Yep. We got John from Florida. Peter, thank you for the share, Peter. Yep. Yeah. Joseph C, as always. Kaiser, Kaiser from Minnesota. We got J.A. Lebowski. Yeah. Lebowski. Yes. Giselle in Las Vegas.
Great meeting, Paul.
Yeah, nice to see you, honey. Yes. Well, the whole makes it what it is, eh? Mickey, as always, the matriarch of Madeira. Greg, thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Chris, as always, in Boston. Kathleen, I'm going to have the pleasure of meeting Kathleen, I feel, in the fall in Sicily. That would be nice. Steve Cole, yeah, if anyone gets interested it's all open now. There's still going to be openings for the retreat. We've made it. You know, we first have a requirement getting a certain amount of people that we've passed. So there'll be, yeah, if you're interested, the information's still there. Just get in touch with Amelia. Warren, nice to see you, Warren. Greg, we got Chris, Kathleen, Steve Cole, San Diego, Oliver. Nice to see you, Dana, the Zoom user. Roman, as always. Yep. Did you get the message from Amelia? Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah, we're going to stay a few days, I think, too. Yeah. David S. Nice to see you there, bro.
Thank you.
Mill Valley, Nina from in LA. Yeah. I'm not going to say anything, Nina, today. All right. I'm going to let it.
I'm off the hook for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think I just got a reprieve from.
No, I was just going to give you a reprieve. Now you've responded. No, you see? No,
Love you, Paul. Bye.
you see, yeah. Nice to see you, Jonathan. Oh, we got Al in Vegas. Kelly. Let's go. Oh, let's see who else we got here. Michael, Dana, Roman, Grateful Dave, Christine in Hawaii. Kelly, nice to see Kelly there. Al in Vegas. I think I've got everyone. Hey, thanks. Wonderful shares. Deepest appreciation for this space. It's almost like a black hole. You can just walk into another dimension. I appreciate that very much. Yeah.
I hope to just say something. Yesterday was Michael Stacy's 4-year sober anniversary, and he does so much service at this meeting. I just want to say shout out to Michael Stacy.
He's going to get 2 hearty handshakes when I see him.
Even though he had nothing to do with it.
2 of them. I know. Yeah, no, Michael's awesome. Thank you, Michael. And congratulations on 4 years of sobriety. Yeah, it's just rolling along, brother. It's building up momentum. Yeah, it's awesome. I tell you, my experience is recovery progresses on its own power after a while. Just get into the right habits and then it just moves you along. Yeah, it's awesome. All right. Hey, and Christine from Hawaii. Nice to see you, Christine. Thank you for showing up. And we were in Hawaii, Amelia and I, hanging out with Kerry and stuff on the other side, near the Hilo side. All right. Thanks. See you guys.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul. Mahalo.